Welcome to the Amazing Authorities Podcast, where game changers, visionaries, and category leaders share how they built their brands, platforms, and global influence. Your host is Mitch Carson, international speaker, media strategist, and creator of the Instant Authority System. If you're ready to learn from those who've done it and want to become the go-to expert in your space, you're in the right place.
I'm excited, truly excited. Today's guest, Ande Lyons, or Lyons, it depends on if you're French or not, how you pronounce her name, is a fellow senior citizen, and we're both proud. And she's open about her age, and so am I. Ande, welcome to the show today.
Oh my gosh, Mitch, I am so delighted to be here. And yes, let's age out loud and proud, folks. Don't be caged by your age. Put it out there. Don't be afraid to be the oldest person in the room.
I love the maturity status. I love the idea that the 65 is the new 45, or even younger. Couldn't it be?
And here we have a great learning moment right off the bat. So what we want to do in the pro-aging space, Mitch, is we want to say 65 is 65. The minute you start cutting off some decades and years, you're minimalizing the incredible depth of experiences, lived experiences, and institutional knowledge that you have built over decades. So we just say 65 is 65 or 70 is 70. We embrace this. And it's really hard because so many of us have been indoctrinated with biases, with thoughts about aging, that we always are looking, well, I feel like I'm 40. Well, okay, that's great. You can feel high energy, and that's wonderful. But you're 70 or you're 65, own it, rock it, live it, work it, and be proud of it. And this flipping the script about aging is so empowering on many levels. I bet you didn't know that the World Health Organization declared retirement an epidemic costing societies billions of dollars. Why? Because people, they're excited to retire. I don't need to work anymore. They get home, they might play golf, they might travel. But after a certain point of time, if they've lived to the age of 65, they're going to live a good 10, 20, 30 years more. What are you going to do? Sit there and binge on Netflix? No. You're going to listen to Mitch, find out how to write a book. You're going to do all these other things. And you have to have the self-awareness. You have to put yourself through some of the tough questions. Like, what could I do that could fuel my passion, my purpose, and my pocketbook? It's such a fascinating time. And I love interviewing these folks on my podcast, Don't Be Caged by Your Age, about how they are shattering those age-related expectations and stereotypes. I'm so fascinated. And it can be something simple, or it can be something where I interviewed one woman who had never even done a pull-up, Mitch, until she was 64, and it took her a whole year to do a pull-up. Well, when she turned 72, she made the Guinness Book of World Records as the oldest female ninja athlete. What the heck? So, there's a lot of things folks are doing, and the best, I want to say, side effect from these conversations is the younger folks are going, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to turn 60, to turn 70, to turn 80, because they keep hearing folks saying, I'm having the best decade of my life.
You touched on a few great points there. Where do I begin? There are so many. I first want to go back to what you started with, when people look forward to retirement and it's an epidemic. I totally agree, because and I'm going to address the male gender / male sex. I could get in trouble. You're still in America, so you have to be careful. I don't. So I'll leave the woke stuff to the side. Men who are men retire, and within 5 years, they typically die, or even less, break their hips, and that's it. Because if the mind shuts down, the body follows. I think the mind is our guide. And if you don't,
Right.
you're not challenged mentally, and it doesn't mean with a high stress level of what maybe we did when we were running around running businesses, but if you're not involved doing something, I believe that the statistic for men, it's stronger for men than women. And largely because we're both baby boomers, that generation and earlier, the men worked and women
Right.
maintained the house. And there's no shame in that. It's just the way it was.
Right.
And it's shifted to where more women in the workforce and still are today. You know, the younger generation, I think it's balanced out. I don't know the stats, so I think you're probably more informed about that, Andy.
Well, yes, I mean, there's definitely different levels of folks who have been working. The bottom line, though, is we have so much of our social connection provided to us by our work in the world. And even if you had a job that you really just crawled your way through the last few years because you were done, it doesn't mean you are done. And it doesn't mean you can't learn something new. And this is what we have to remember that is so important. Your brain does not stop growing and learning. In fact, it peaks at the age of 59 in the sense that it's really firing on all those cylinders, and there's science behind that. And so, as long as we keep building our neuroplasticity by learning something new, another piece of technology, learning how to become an author, write a book, tell a story, become a speaker, try new things. You and I are seasoned entrepreneurs. I've been unemployable since 1992.
I
So,
love that. I love what you wrote there, unemployable. There's no way I could be employed. No way.
oh,
I'd
no
be a
way.
caged animal. You just can't put, yes, I totally got that. I said, I must have this woman on my podcast. I love it. Yeah, there's no
Well,
way.
it's easier for us to adjust, Mitch. So, for the listener who may have been an employee their whole life, I have a deep appreciation for how hard that transition can be. But there's so many wonderful ways to express yourself. I interviewed a woman, she's 72. She
Mhm.
retired from 40 decades of being a CPA. Okay. Now that's as dry a bone of a business that you could possibly do.
Black and white.
However, her undergrad had actually been in theater. And so
Wow.
she got trained to be a voice actor. And oh my gosh, she set up her home studio. She is out straight with business as a voice actor. You just can't imagine that, right? But that was a passion she had. And there's a wonderful book out there called Don't Retire, Rewire. And it takes you through exercises. It asks questions. It helps you connect the dots so that you can go out and pull on some threads. Some people say, oh, everyone tells me I'm great at flower arranging. Well, maybe they go and start flower arranging for someone and then they realize they really hate it. They liked it as a hobby, but they didn't like it as something to earn money at. But maybe they wanted to go work in a kitchen, or they want to read to preschoolers, or they want to whatever. But you brought up a really good point, Mitch, and that is as we age, we now have not only our financial portfolio, but we have our energy portfolio that needs real management. And so you're going to carve out time in your day to relax, to do the things you want. You're not going to go at that high pace. And frankly, you don't need to or have to, because you can also get picked up by corporations nowadays because our generation knows how to do things that the millennials and the Gen Zs are completely flummoxed by, which is picking up the phone and calling someone, going out and meeting people. But you also have the decades of what I call that institutional knowledge from working. I don't care whether it was at the post office or you were the lunch lady at the elementary school. You learned so much during those years that that knowledge is so valuable. And you don't need to spend 40 hours anymore because you made all the mistakes and you know how to do things a lot faster and more efficiently so you can get it done in 20, 25 hours.
Well, you're flipping the script on what, let's say the 40, 45-year-old CEO believes. She thinks or he thinks, oh, you're my dad's age, my mom's age. You're going to not understand technology. You're not going to understand how to deal with these people. Where the opposite is true. We need to be embraced. If I thought about that, do I become a Walmart greeter? have an MBA. And is that where I'm going to go and use all those years of skills of taking two companies public and doing, I mean, I've got my own resume and my background, not dissimilar than yours. I've been an entrepreneur and think, am I going to downgrade if I ever decide to fully retire and then do a fun job? Am I going to go and work at the local community center and say, welcome to the community center or welcome to Walmart? I don't think so. I think, and it's fine if that's what people want to do, no judgment. I just judge it for myself. That would,
Right.
could you do that?
No, it wouldn't work for many of us.
Yeah.
No matter what your career has been, we have been lit up in life. So we need to stay visible and connected and feel like we belong. And certainly 30% of our age group is definitely happy taking care of the grandkids,
Right.
going on long walks and doing all that. That's great. But the 70% of us have to have a reason to get out of bed. That is about being not only fulfilled, but bringing our fully expressed self to the world. When I held a monthly pitch event here in Boston for 3 years for founders,
Mhm.
where they pitched their business to raise capital to a live audience, and we had investors that were judges and would ask questions as well, I would often hear, and it would be well meaning, okay? Folks would advise the founder if they were getting too complicated or too into the weeds about their business. They'd say, explain your business as if you were telling your grandmother. And I jumped up out of my seat when I heard that. Like, what are you talking about here?
Hot
Because,
button.
no, very hot button because it was never grandpa. So to me, it
Uh,
was gendered ageism. But also, what the heck do you think we were doing in the 70s? So I wrote a post recently called Boomers Are Tech Legends, Not Tech Challenged. And I talk about how we went from manual typewriters to electric typewriters to learning how to code. And not only do that, start using personal computers and doing all of those things. We had to train people. We had to teach people how to do that.
Thank you, Bill Gates, who's a
Yeah,
of our baby boomer group.
think about when you needed a carbon copy of something, you actually put carbon paper in between
Oh yeah.
the paper. And now, we not only had to learn how printers worked, not from just making photocopies, but also how a printer worked to print something out from a computer. I mean, when we used to replace the inkjets, you'd get it all over yourself. We would have rotary dial phones, and then we had the answering machines, and all the things that we have had to learn over the years using a camera that had nothing automatic about it, completely manual with film. You had to load it, to then learning how to use where we're at today. Same thing with smartphones. We are brilliant. No generation has had to adjust and adapt to technology like ours. So I want to remind folks who are listening, even if you think that you might be, quote, stupid around tech, you're not. You
You're
had to
not.
learn all those things too. You had
It's
to
a
go from,
mindset, isn't it? It's a mindset that we accepted that we're tech challenged, but we're not because we had to do long math, long form arithmetic and division as opposed to using a calculator and learning all that basis. Write essays by hand in pencil and or pen instead of using chat GPT and getting past all of the structure of good grammar versus poor grammar. I believe that there's something to be said for manual to teach us the frameworks
yes,
first.
yes.
It's too easy now.
Yep, you brought up so many good points and how we had to learn. When I put this article, I put it up on Reddit, the Boomers Are Tech Legends, Not Tech
I'm going to have
Challenge.
to look that article up. Yeah.
You're going to have to. It's a stroll down history. The comments from people, I still get goosebumps from them today. One of my favorites was a woman who was in her chemistry class in 1970 something, 72, I think. And the professor said, and those of you with handheld calculators, you have to sit in the back. And she looked at her friend and said, what's a handheld calculator?
Oh my gosh. Oh my
Because
God.
they were
What's
all
a
slide
beeper?
rules.
What's a beeper? And I had talked about my very first calculator my mother bought for me in 1972. I begged her because I got accepted into an advanced placement algebra class when I was 12. And She bought,
Smarty pants. Wicked
yeah,
smart is what we'd say here in Boston.
well, smarty pants. Yeah, oh, there you go. But she bought me this Texas Instrument calculator. It was $200. It was my birthday gift, Christmas gift, everything. Big 10 key calculator. It was so basic. Didn't have any logarithmic functions, no cosine, nothing. Texas Instrument came out with something for a lot less money, with more functions later. But that was the shit. I'm sorry. I
Oh
don't
my
want to
God,
be more
people save
refined.
money. People save serious money to have that calculator, right?
Oh, yeah. And I used it and I loved it. Oh my gosh. And it plugged in. It wasn't battery operated, it plugged in. So I thought, oh boy. Yeah, and people just
Oh,
don't appreciate how easy things have become and the laziness, and
oh my,
kids are in their phones and not interacting as humans today. Now, I want to talk, Andy, about something you've done. Both of us have embraced a platform which wasn't around for our media choices as young professionals. Now we're older professionals. I would say mature. I'm going to suspend the old word and I'm going to thank you for that. But you started podcasting years ago, and which was a new person platform or newer to media platform. And then you've done something. You've addressed the pain point of podcasters. We're lonely.
right. Isolation is a real thing.
Tell us what you've done in New England.
Oh, well, thank you so much for asking. So, I needed, and as we age, finding community is so important. It is the number one ingredient for longevity, is having community. Not what you eat, not what you exercise, all of this community. But the downside of that as you age is that you become a lot more discerning who you're going to spend your precious time with, right? And so when I was looking at ways to increase my community locally, I really was craving in person because I was there when we all got online back in 2008, 2010, all of those years. And it was fun to meet people from around the world. But with AI coming in so heavily and you're not knowing what's real, all of that, I wanted to look into people's eyes. And so I thought, well, who do I love hanging out with the most? Indie podcasters. And I knew that we didn't have anything local that was for podcasters, and I didn't want to make it too local. I mean, I could have gone Boston or Massachusetts. I said, no, I'm a New Englander. We got 6 states here. Why don't I call it the New England Podcasters Group? And in March of 2024, I gathered, I don't know, about 10 or 12 people and said, hey, you want to talk about this? That I knew that were in the area of New England. So we all got on a Zoom call and I said, what do you think of this idea? And they go, we love it. In fact, said one man, Jack Wang, I know the perfect place to have our event every month. I go, where? And it was a cable access TV studio.
Oh, I love
And
it.
isn't that great? And they not only did they have a great TV studio there, but they had a podcast studio and it had plenty of parking. And so they host us and they've been hosting us since May of 2024. And and of course, just like an entrepreneur, we check out our value prop. Is this a problem people want to solve, right? So first you find out that yes, there's interest. People kept coming. I set it up so that it was the second Saturday of every month. And the reason it's a Saturday is I wanted people to be able to drive without traffic to come and gather.
Now, did you advertise this on Facebook, or did you set up a group, a LinkedIn group, a Facebook group? Where did you, or a meetup group? Where did you find your community basis?
I set up a Facebook group, but
Okay.
I used the base of people I had reached out to then reach out. And then I used Eventbrite. And I got
Okay,
a lot of
Eventbrite.
people through
Okay.
Eventbrite.
Okay.
But it was also the consistency coupled with when people came, they felt so welcomed and so celebrated and so remembered. And what I really loved was that it wasn't about me, Mitch, being in front of the room. I was there to create the space and the place and the good vibes, right? And, certainly a format for the event, which is come in, a little housekeeping. We do a huddle where we go around the room quickly and tell everybody who we are in our podcast and where where in the New England area we are. And then I would always pause for a little bit and then have a featured speaker. Could have been anybody in the group. Really, for the first,
Okay.
almost for the first year, somebody in the group had a specialty, right? Whether it's video, podcasting, to monetizing, to interviewing, all the things. But then I started bringing folks in as well. But after 1 year, I looked at everybody and I said, look, clearly we're here a year later. It's going really well. We keep expanding. We've got people tuning in via the Zoom room now, so people can tune in virtually if they can't get here. We need to fund this for any kind of organization to be sustainable and have longevity. We have to fund it. So I'm starting a membership.
So
Founding
you started
members.
dues. Yeah.
Yep. And I just said, $100 a year. It'll always be that way for the founding members. And then, so that was wonderful. And then for my own convenience, because I was tired of trying to chase everybody to where they were on social media, even though I did have an email list, I still felt I needed a website. And one of our members, who was a website design gal, she built a wonderful website for us. By the way, I got a food sponsor within 2 months. So always having food has been wonderful. Thank you, Mopod. But what happened was, I needed a place to house everything. So I looked at all the different community platforms and I chose circle.so and I created a community pod garden. So the members can go and continue talking amongst themselves. We have a virtual monthly huddle. We have folks now who are joining us that are outside New England because although we're rooted in New England, we're open to all. And so
How
they're
many
getting,
members?
we are up to 40 paid members. We get in person, on average, 20 to 25 folks a month in person, and through Zoom, anywhere from 5 to 10 via Zoom. And it's growing all the time.
That's fantastic. Now, do you get sponsors like a Riverside or StreamYard?
I get discounts from platforms. So Buzzsprout gives us a discount, Podfest gives us a discount, Podmatch, Podpage. So I've got, excuse me, a lot of discounts from folks, but I definitely want to get more sponsors.
Yeah, I was just curious, like if StreamYard wanted to sponsor an event and have a speaker come in and then give a discount and or help be
Right.
the featured, that I was thinking of that. I want to create an Asia because I live in Thailand principally when I go back to Vegas to shoot my show, but I live here and I want to create a podcast conference for the Asian community.
Oh, that's
And like a
wonderful.
Podfest, but in Asia, because it's
Yeah.
growing. It isn't at the rate that it is in the US, but it is growing. And I want to be able to participate.
Well, and the beauty of podcasting, like a lot of technology, it democratizes our ability to connect with people. And as you age, as I mentioned earlier, that connection is so important. And one of the best ways, as you know, because you've interviewed so many fascinating people, is
Hmm.
through podcasting. And after you pay or invest for your microphone, that's your biggest investment, and then maybe the camera on top of your laptop. Really, the platforms compared to when you and I started, or I don't know when you started podcasting, but when I started in 2012, we had nothing like this. It was just darn hard, and you had to work a lot of hours to get anything produced. Whereas today we have Riverside or StreamYard, as you mentioned. We have all the editing tools that are really inexpensive, and platforms. Podpage gives you a website for your podcast. You might spend $50 a month to have this rich experience of sharing your own voice, your creativity, challenging yourself. Do I want to interview? Do I want to talk about something that's important to me? It's just such a great medium, Mitch, right?
Well, you learn so much from other people because we are isolated, and masterminding is probably one of the biggest keys to my success as a business person, learning from other people. I'm going to tune in virtually for your next New England event. I'm all the way. I'd
Oh,
love to see what you guys are doing.
oh, we'd
And
love to have you. I've got a complimentary ticket with your name on it.
well, I'd love to attend virtually. I mean, to make the
Yes.
left
Oh,
over to Boston, a little
the
far.
Zoom, the
I,
Zoom room is happening. It
yeah,
is on fire.
yeah, I would love to be part of that and learn and maybe do something like that in the future here in Bangkok for Asia.
Please do. You're going to love it. You're going to absolutely love it. And what you will take it, what I take a lot of joy in is watching the collaborations, the conversations that happen. I'm just an observer on the side of the room. And everybody's like, oh, can you be on my show? Or I'm having this challenge. And that's why we do the huddle, because people always have to share a win or I like to say a rut row, a whoopsie daisy. And that way everybody gets reminded, oh, I want to talk to Andy over there. I want to talk to Ron, or I want to talk to that person about their show or what they're doing. And we have people who come in and say, I need your help. I need to brainstorm on something. And we all go, oh, all right, let's go. It's so wonderful.
Wow. Well, that's great. And I see a book behind you, The New Old.
That's right. I
Is that
just
yours?
interviewed Erica Anderson. She is, what is she now? 72, 3, I think 72 or 73. She lives in Spain, northern Spain. She is an expat over there. And she wrote this great new book called The New Old, which is how we're all thriving after 65 and all the different wonderful ways that we are using our brains, using our lived experiences to find meaningful adventures. And it doesn't mean you have to go and do that same adventure for the next 5, 10, 15 years. You can do something for a chapter, a season, whatever works for you. But being able to understand that we are not our grandparents.
No, and are you the bobblehead as well?
I look at you. Yes, this is what the New England podcasters gave me after my 1 year anniversary. And it's based on a photo that somebody took of me that day. Isn't that fun?
I love it. So how did they create that? That's one off those.
Yeah, I think Angel just sent the photo to a place in China and they put, I don't
They
know how they
popped
made it
out one.
3D. Yeah, they
Wow.
popped out one. But honestly, right down to the ring on my finger. It's
Wow,
really
that's
funny.
fantastic. I noticed that I'm up, I look at the little details of it. That's a great prop. I
Yeah.
created a bobblehead doll. I mean, but it took 2,500 of them to complete an order. That's why I said for a client of mine named Dan Kennedy, who's a well-known marketer, and and people still cherish that. I mean, this was 25 years ago I made that, but it took 2,500 of them to order. So that's why, did everybody get one or is it just for you?
It was just for me.
Wow. Well,
But what I'm really fond of are the buttons. I hand out buttons all the time.
let's see those.
So I've got, well, this is this is, oh, good. This is my Age Out Loud and Proud button.
Oh, I love it.
So with the logo for Don't Be Caged by Your Age, but we also have one for New England podcasters, and founding members get their button, and now members get their button. And so when we show up at Podfest, we're like a posse working
Oh,
the crowd.
okay. So is that the biggest podcast conference, Podfest? I went to
For
one.
in
Okay.
Yeah, for indie podcasters it is.
Okay.
And here's what they do well, Mitch. They run a tight show, which I appreciate. I like my sessions to start on time, end on time, to all
Hmm.
those things. They have good speakers, they're up your game. But most importantly, it's attendee centric. So I go to Podcast Movement, which tends to be more exhibitor and speaker centric. At
Yes, it was.
Podfest,
That's where I went in Washington, D.C. last year. I went
yes.
very, very good assessment.
Whereas Podfest is about you, the attendee, having a great conversation with another attendee. And they'll tell you, look, if you're in a really good conversation in between sessions or in the hallway and a session has started, stay with your great conversation. You can always get the recording later, and I love that.
I made some nice connections when I went to
Well,
Washington.
Mitch, I was there too. I don't know how we didn't meet up there.
I don't
Maybe we
know.
did.
Yeah, I know the little, or not the little, the fellow who has the big podcast where we met, Podmatch, and he
Yeah.
was there. I met him at the elevator.
Alex, yep,
Yes.
Alex is going to be in the Pod Garden in end of January talking about Pod Match, and of course that's how we met. But what I found interesting, just a sidebar, Mitch, the attendance at Podcast Movement was half of what it was last year. So the one in Dallas this summer in August was half the amount of folks than was in Washington, D.C. in 2024.
Why do you think that was?
I think it's, well, Americans aren't really traveling. We're not spending money. We're tightening our belts. So I think also, I believe that they were getting a little too diluted as to who their customer was. And their customer really is the big player podcaster, the Mel Robbins, that
Right.
level of podcasting. And they were really had been bringing in more and more indie podcasters. And so what they've done is they have merged with South by Southwest. So for their mid-year event that's always in March, it's going to be now at South by Southwest. And instead of going to different facilities around the country, every August, their big annual event will be in New York City.
That's an expensive platform.
Very expensive. But again, I think they recalibrated because they should be talking to the Don Lemons, the Mel Brooks, and et cetera. And that's where you're going to find a lot of folks.
Why do you think a podcaster like Mel Robbins is so successful? What did she do? What boxes did she check to be one of the biggest podcasters? And Joe Rogan,
Well,
of course, he's got
yeah.
the UFC as a platform. He's unusual. But what did Mel do or anyone like that?
Well, it's funny you ask because I'm from Boston. So I know Mel when she was an attorney and was on our local talk radio.
Oh, I didn't know she was an attorney. Didn't know her background.
Yeah. So, and I watched her make that transition 2010, 2011, 2012 into becoming an inspirational speaker. And so she just worked the speaking crowd big time. She wrote some books, right? She then, I believe, just used this wonderful platform to share a bigger voice of self-improvement.
Okay,
And
because she's a sharp woman. Oh, I didn't know she was a lawyer. Okay.
yeah, and so and she's good at speaking those sound bites, and she's good at talking to you from the floor in her kitchen. Not all of us are good at that,
Well,
right?
she's also got guests live.
Right. So she has a bona fide studio that people will come into now, and that's your top drawer folks. They can afford to do that and have a
And Lewis
studio and be
Howes does that
produced.
also.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
he's another one that he brings in, and they're very long pod. Joe Rogan does, obviously. But those
Right.
are, and you mentioned something, it's a financial investment. That's a different level. And when does
Totally
it
different.
justify, because you've been at this so long to make that jump versus those of us that are indie doing this in a spare room or what have you?
Yeah, I can't imagine the pressure of going that big. I think you just have to decide. I mean, she was very clear that this is where she was going. If she wasn't going to get picked up by local talk radio, and I mean, I'm sure she was thinking she wanted to be the next Howard Stern in a more serious way, right? And so she started working all the angles, and she went through some really tough years and trying to figure it out. It didn't happen. I mean, again, I saw her speak for the first time in 2010, 2011, and I heard her on the radio a little bit earlier than that as well. So it was, it's been a long haul for her. She's worked really hard to get where she is. So I guess it depends if that's where you want to go. And this is where a lot of indie podcasters, Mitch, get into problems in their head about what success looks like. Excuse me, right? Because they are thinking it's all about the downloads. But if they entered a room that had 50 to 100 people in it, they'd be kind of blown away that they were speaking to that size of a group. So I think people who are indie podcasters, one conversation at a time, one listener at a time, think about a room of 20 people, 50 people, 100. If you had that many people show up to hear you speak 4 times a week, a month, I mean, wow, that would be, I think, a huge success. What do you think, Mitch?
Oh, I agree. I mean, I come from the speaking world, so podcasting to me is extremely easy.
Yeah.
This it wasn't difficult or intimidating in any way, and I also had a radio show, a live radio show in
Yay.
LA with CBS. So podcasting to me it is different. I respect that it's a different platform, different way of going into it, but there's so many crossover talents
Right.
that come from my particular background and from others. Like you said, Mel Robbins was a speaker and she was an author. And I think in order to grow a podcast, people ought to consider writing a book. And the easiest way to writing a book for some of these people is to just take all the interviews that they've done, put it into a compilation, excerpts from great sound bites of each interview.
Well, look at even in politics now, you got to start a podcast.
Oh,
It's,
gosh.
it's everywhere. I
Yeah.
think it, go
And
ahead.
what is the best way to start for people that are listening to us? You've been doing this longer than me. I jumped in and started doing 3 to 5 interviews a day, and
Uh,
I created my
but
numbers. And now I'm down to
I,
just one a day.
well, you've got that strong background. You are a wonderful interviewer. And who's ever listener, know that this gentleman here, Mitch, has incredible reviews about what a phenomenal interviewer he is. So you have that lived experience you're bringing to the plate. And so it's much easier to start a podcast. I'd say, of course, come join us at New England Podcasters. We've helped a lot of people get started just in uplifting, encouraging other folks to do it. But there is these wonderful steps that you can take. There's a lot of people out there. If you need hand holding, I know when I launched my podcast in 2012, I hired a producer to hold my hand. And then 52 weeks in, I was like, okay, I've got this. And then I signed up with Blog Talk Radio and started producing my own shows from then on. But if you're very handy and you love to get in and try editing and figure that
Hmm.
out, platforms like Riverside make it very easy to not only record, but it looks like a Word document when you go to edit your podcast. Plus, they have this delicious button called Magic Audio, so that if your guest sounds like they're coming in through a tunnel, boom, they turn it into practically NPR quality. It's delicious. These are the tools that are out there to make it easy for you. And then my favorite hosting site is Buzzsprout, but there's plenty of others out there. Buzzsprout to me is just intuitive, it's friendly, it's warm, it's easy, it makes sense to use. And that's where you upload your audio and you put your show notes together and you put your artwork in. And you can create artwork on Canva, you can hire someone on Upwork or Fiverr, or you can invest in a good graphic designer who will put everything up for you on Canva. But these are, the steps. And then I highly recommend interviewing 8 people, or if you're or creating 8 episodes. Get 8 episodes in the hopper where you think, okay, these are great, and then set your launch date. And this is because people tend to want to binge, and you can easily go ahead and launch 4 episodes right away. So they can go, ooh, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then you start putting them out week by week. But it also gives you the experience to get comfortable with listening to your voice, talking to the camera, talking into the mic, practicing all the different things. And then finally, you just have to have grace with yourself because, like anything else you learn, you're not good in the beginning, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And
You'll never be a one-timer again, a first time.
nope. And so you're going to get better. And it's really fun to share those stories of things that can happen. I mean, I went live for 3 years, twice a week. And the technology challenges, even though this was 2020 through 2023, I still could have technology issues. When we were doing live streaming in 2012 using Google Plus, you could count on the fact that you'd have technology challenges. And we've come a long way. And I love that you were in radio, Mitch, in LA. That's so wonderful. I knew when video cameras came out in the 80s,
Yeah.
once I saw myself on video, I said, oh my God, the camera loves me. I want to do video. How am I going to do that in 1986, 87, 88? Go down to our local CBS station and get hired? I don't think so. But today, anybody can talk to a camera, talk into a mic, and you get better and better and better as you go along.
You do. You just have to do it. You don't get big biceps by doing one set of curls. You got
Right.
to do them over a period of time. You'll start seeing a change after about 6 to 8 weeks. Same with podcasting, and
Yeah.
I taught martial arts for years. People say, when can I be tough like you? I said 10,000 kicks a day, or oh no, I would do 1,000 kicks per leg per day, every day. And then after a while, it just happens. Then you're able to
Right.
be more comfortable. It takes
Oh,
reps. Takes
It
reps.
absolutely does. And then you get a you find the ability to be talking and then you kind of flub things up and you go, oh, well, I just flubbed something up, but you're human and it's okay. And you move right along and you catch yourself. What I found interesting is when I interviewed speakers, Mitch, who were, the pros
Hmm.
speakers who would have the whole slideshow and everything memorized and they'd be back and forth on the stage, they had the whole thing. They were more nervous to speak extemporaneously in an interview than they were to give a speech. And that was new to me because I would be too nervous to give a speech where I had to have everything memorized, right? Um,
I'm
versus,
100% extemporaneous. My speaking
yeah,
career, and I've spoken on stages in 63 countries. I have never been scripted. I'd fail as an actor. My view is you've got to pull from the energy of the crowd and go where
right.
you have a structure, some type of a roadmap, a loose roadmap. And that's because I put in the reps. And as a podcaster, do you have to put in much thought before you get on and conduct an interview now versus the
No,
first time was probably stressful?
very stressful. And also video. So, I was doing video in 2012, but then as my brain aged, I did notice that for me to memorize a script, because I do sometimes want to have a teachable moment where
Mhm.
I'm sharing a specific piece of information or I have a bio that I want to read for the guest. I
Mhm.
would tell people, look, you're going to see me reading. Get over it. I am not going to memorize that.
Got it.
you
Well,
know,
that's fine to do. Well, so the New England Podcaster Group, where do they find out about this? Is it on a Facebook group or where is there a
we
website?
have, yep, we have a website, newenglandpodcasters.group, and you can learn all about us. And you can certainly follow us on Instagram, New England Podcasters Group. You'll see all our reels. Really fun. You just see that we are having an absolute blast. Everybody has clappers.
Okay.
So when we get together, which makes it so delicious. And we love welcoming new folks. Come join us either virtually or in person. We just are very upbeat. We love teaching folks what we know. And if you want to, you can come into the Pod Garden where we have monthly learnings. Tomorrow night, Wednesday night, on the 3rd of December, we've got an Airtable Masterclass specifically for podcasters. So exciting. So, we do a lot of things like that.
And are you still with Blog Talk Radio?
No, I went from Blog Talk Radio to, let's see, for podcasting, I think I just went and started grabbing the audio when I recorded on Google Plus, and then I grabbed the audio when I recorded on Blab, and then I used not StreamYard. What's the other one that begins with,
Riverside,
no, it
uh,
begins with S.
Ecamm? No, uh,
Um, what is that one called?
Alitu.
Oh, I
There's
just heard it the other day and I went, oh, yeah, I used that for 3 years. And it's a hosting platform. But I went to StreamYard in 2018. I was part of the beta group that those founders used to kick the tires before they launched in November of 2019. And so I started using them then, and I used to laugh and tell them I had shoes older than they were.
what do you use yourself now?
I just switched from StreamYard from 6 years with StreamYard to Riverside because of the editing feature and the magic audio. It just made it so much easier for me so I could drop. Plus, they provide clips. So I was able to drop Cast Magic, Descript, and Opus clips and save myself some money.
Oh, I use Opus Clips. Oh, interesting. So StreamYard takes that away.
StreamYard, I didn't have any
Not
clips with
StreamYard.
Stream.
I'm sorry,
Oh,
Riverside.
Riverside, yeah. Riverside has all the editing just like you have with Descript, only even better in my opinion, because they leave it crossed out so that you can see the original script. And then they can, ChatGPT can give you anything you need for a LinkedIn post, all the things, show notes, etc. And then Riverside also grabs a bunch of clips from your conversation. And so you can
Ah,
download and use those.
so
So
you can leave Opus behind.
yeah. And then I can also easily, when I go to edit, just drop my background in because I'm all about having a background instead of a black background and a branded black, I mean, sorry, a branded background. So they make it very easy. Very
Well, I'm gonna have
easy.
to look at that. Well, Andy, you've been a great guest today, and I'm gonna look at the New England Podcaster Group myself. I want to see what you guys are
Well, I'm
doing.
going to send you the Zoom link for December 13th if you want to come join us.
I will do that.
All
And
right. I
it
can't
might be
wait.
my morning, you guys, your evening, or is it the evening?
Well, it is probably the worst time for you. It is at 12 noon Eastern. So that's 12 midnight for you.
I'll be staying up late, won't I?
At least come in for an hour and say hi to everybody.
Yeah,
They'll just be
why
so
not?
blown away.
Why not? Well, Andy, thank you so much for your time today. All the best.
Oh, Mitch, thank you for one of the best conversations I've had in a really long time. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Amazing Authorities Podcast. If today's episode inspired you, take a moment to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps more experts like you rise to the top. For behind-the-scenes access and free resources to boost your authority, head to mitchcarson.com. Until next time, stay amazing.